Hey, this is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and Film Intuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen. Bill, it is always such a pleasure to have you back. My friends, William Boyle, who's one of my favorite writers. If you love the movies of like Sidney Lumet, New York Stories, you like the fiction of John Fonte, all of that, you would enjoy Bill. And he's written so many great books. We have The Lonely Witness, Shoot the Moonlight Out, A Friend is a Gift You Give Yourself, City of Margins. The latest one is Saint of the Narrows Street, and that just hit paperback, so you're going to want to pick that up. And his new book coming out in early 27 is Heavy Sugar, so I'll be asking about that as well. So, Bill, wonderful writer, thanks for making the time today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jen. It's always great catching up and talking movies with you. So I've been looking forward to this, and
Yeah, I have too, of course. So Heavy Sugar is your next book. I know usually, because we're kind of similar in age, just a few years apart, so we both have similar sensibilities. Like when Sean Cosby, a good friend of ours, was just on, we were talking about video stores in the 90s and all of that stuff. And that's one thing I love about your books is we have similar touchstones of like
yeah.
movies and music. So is Heavy Sugar another one set in the past? Is it a modern one? What is the book?
It is. It's set in 1991.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm sticking with that. But this one is set. Saint of the Narrows Street was set over an 18-year period. It was set in, as you know, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, but it was set in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, and like four different kind of drop into these four different moments. This one is just set on like it's one day in
Oh, cool.
1991. So kind of like, after hours kind of style,
Yeah.
like, hectic. It's set the day before Thanksgiving in 1991. And yeah, all kind of in my neighborhood mostly, but also a little bit in the Bronx. So it kind of bounces between those two places, but mostly settles in southern Brooklyn and my neighborhood, Gravesend and Bensonhurst and Coney Island, and kind of a little bit more of a um, kind of screwball noir type thing in the vein of my other book, A Friend is a Gift You Give Yourself. Then,
Oh, I love that one. Yeah. I keep waiting for that to be like an original series on HBO, or a brand new
yeah,
Netflix
that'd
series.
be cool.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is Heavy Sugar sounds great. You and I both kind of enjoy that style. I mean, not every story needs to be it, of course, but of massive things happening in a short period
Yeah,
of time, which is really cool. You mentioned After Hours, we have Miracle Mile, American Graffiti, Dazed and Confused, so many. So I can't wait for that. Was that really challenging to keep building and building in one day?
I mean, I think it started as my impulse when I started the book after what I did in Saint of the Narrow Street. I mean, I've always kind of preferred compressed
Yeah.
time frames. So most of my books are set over a
A
few
week or
days
two.
or
Yeah.
a week or whatever. I just, that's just the way storytelling kind of makes sense to me. It's not only what I like as a reader or viewer, certainly, but it's how I tell stories effectively usually. So with Saint of the Narrow Street, I was trying to kind of broaden that a little bit. And then, after that, I was kind of like, okay, I'm just going back to really tight, compressed time frame. And actually, my initial version of Saint of the Narrow Street was set over one day too, and that just didn't
Oh,
work.
okay.
It kind of grew and changed a lot from there. So with this one, I was like, I'm going to write this one just kind of, you know, fast and have it be fast paced. And that I didn't write it that fast, but I wanted it to feel fast. So yeah, I mean, it was challenging in revision, I think more than it was challenging. Like in the first draft, I was just kind of carried away by it. But then I think once I sold it and worked with my editor on it, I kind of saw some things that needed work and strengthening, and so it became more challenging as it went along. But really, it kind of the first draft of it anyway kind of just blew out of me.
I'm so excited. That's wonderful. When it's where you want it to be, of course, hit me up and
Oh yeah, I'll
everyone
get
could
you.
be die of jealousy. No, I'm just kidding. But that's one of the great things of having so many talented friends. I never am hurting for stuff to read.
Yeah, no, it must
Uh,
get overwhelming actually. You got
yeah,
so many of us,
I love it. Yeah. Speaking of reading and our friends, I know Megan Abbott and Jack Pendarvis, who are really good friends of yours. They have kind of like a two-person book club of
Yeah.
celebrity bios where they read everything, or famous bios. They read about Lord Byron or something, but then they also, whatever the latest tell-all book seems to be. And I know just you and I love reading film books and history and cinema. And so when we were coming up with an idea, you suggested Joan Crawford because I know you had just gotten your hands on the new bio. So what is that like? And have you always been a big Joan fan?
I've definitely always appreciated her. I saw. I'm sure I was trying to think of this the other day, like what my first exposure to her would have been. Probably was Mildred Pierce,
Hmm.
because I read James M. Cain when I was pretty young. I was probably in high school when I read Double Indemnity, Postman Always Rings Twice, Mildred Pierce, kind of in a row, Serenade. So I think probably it was that, and then probably Johnny Guitar, soon after that. But I think one thing I realized was I always appreciated her, but I was always coming to those movies for other reasons.
Yeah.
Like because I was a Nicholas Ray fan or a James M. Cain fan, and she's got such a rich film noir period. Like because I was so immersed in film noir, I was just running into her and
Mhm.
noir or noir adjacent stuff from the 40s and 50s. So I definitely always appreciated her and liked her. But something, and then slowly over time, I think, when I saw the early stuff was when I really was like, oh my God, and I didn't pick any of those for today. I probably should have, but I'm sure I'll talk about them a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
But when I saw like, the silent stuff, Todd Browning's The Unknown, and then the pre-code stuff, I started to become kind of obsessed with her. And I really, I think that happened a few years ago, really, where I think I watched The Unknown for the first time, and then I watched Rain for the first time, and those kind of opened up something. And I've watched just a ton of her stuff. A lot of it is, a lot of it has been kind of rewatches. There's stuff, I'd seen that again, like maybe I watched it for some other reason, and now I'm coming back to it as like a Joan Crawford obsessive and appreciating first and foremost her. Um, so yeah, I mean the appreciation's always been there, but it kind of turned into something else the last few years, where she's basically become my favorite actress. I think I watched something like 20 movies, watched and rewatched like 20 movies of hers last year. I think I've watched close to that already this year. I'm always kind of discovering stuff. So I'd been kind of going deep before the biography came out, the new biography, Scott Iman's Joan Crawford, A Woman's Face,
Okay.
and then reading that and kind of getting immersed in that, I started going even deeper and it just there was a handful of stuff I hadn't seen that I really wanted to see and was lucky, and a lot of it's not super available, but there was a stretch where HBO Max had a bunch of stuff up that you couldn't really find elsewhere.
Yeah.
But also because she's such a big star, like there is a lot of her stuff on Blu-ray and kind of consistently coming out on Blu-ray, which is really nice. Like that Letty Linton Lost movie, which just the Pre-Code movie, which was lost or banned or whatever for 90 years. That just got screened in LA and is coming out on Blu-ray in June. So, this stuff does tend to become available for the most part. So yeah, I don't know. It's a long rambling answer. I'm sorry, but I've kind of, it's been a few years now of just really being
Yeah.
totally wrapped
Immersive.
up. Yeah, immersed.
And Joan. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think growing up, 80s and 90s, the first idea I had of Joan Crawford was I knew people had called her the queen of the Pepsi Cola, or
Yeah, yeah,
because she'd been married to the president until his death, and then she was on the board until they like kind of said you need to retire, basically. And also, unfortunately, I think I knew of her reputation before
yeah.
I saw her movies because
Right.
of Mommy Dearest. It was on all the sitcoms, no wire hangers ever. And,
Yeah, yeah,
I did an episode on Faye Dunaway with James Urbaniak, and he was kind of defending that performance and stuff. But I think as a kid, I knew of her. And then I think Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was probably the first one. And so in my mind, I just saw her as that type of an actress and got her confused with so she just seemed like a little over the top. And then finally, when I got a little older, I remember in the 90s, there was a book series that was really popular called Cinema Therapy, where it was like a therapist who was recommending movies for different things. And so I went through the whole book and whatever, even if they didn't apply these situations, and just watched the movies because I was always looking for recs. And one of them was Mildred Pierce. It was like, if you give too much, or you're a mom who is too, doting or whatever it is. And that kind of blew everything open for me. It was like, wow, that is such a great movie, such a wonderful performance. I've talked about it on the show, I think, a couple times, but I would say that's probably my favorite Joan. Then I saw on TCM, usually like Summer Under the Stars or whatever it is, where they go deep. I recorded different days, and so I saw a lot of those, like Our Dancing Daughters, and some
yeah.
of the ones also with Clark Gable, and just that era. So then I saw, oh, she was a song and dance woman. And also I think she's in like That's Entertainment, and those, they have some of those pulled from her various films. Then I think I finally got into some of her other stuff when I'd seen Johnny Guitar, I think around college. The Damned Don't Cry was one I really enjoyed. That's a little over the top too, but
I
I
love that
love
one.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I really appreciated the selection of movies that you did choose, and I think, everyone go see Mildred Pierce if you have not seen Mildred Pierce. Just amazing film, amazing performance. Read the book, and also
Yeah.
maybe watch the Todd Haynes version, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Underrated for sure.
Yeah, but I like that you kind of like dug a little bit deeper, and also talked about we're going to talk about Humoresque, which I think I had seen. I don't know if I saw some of it was familiar, but I couldn't really place it. The same thing happened with Sudden Fear, which is another one. That became like an instant new favorite. I love that. Johnny Guitar, I have the discs somewhere. I want to say maybe Olive Films.
Yeah, that's what I've got too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was a good rewatch. But yeah, so talk to me about some of your favorites, and just your evolution too with that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought up that. Like, I actually didn't see Mommy Dearest until recently.
Yeah, me
So
too.
I kind of had that.
Yeah.
Um, I had the sense of that stuff.
Yes.
I think I'd heard about it and kind of, you know,
Stayed away. That's what I
yeah.
did.
Well, and had kind of this sense that she had become kind of a caricature of some
Yeah,
kind or
that's a good way of
whatever.
putting it. Hmm.
But I never really, I wasn't too, when I went back to the early stuff and really, I mean, her whole career is very fascinating. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's almost nothing as fascinating to me as actors and directors who worked from the 20s into the 70s, I mean, just to
Yeah.
see that scope of, like from the silent era into the like weird exploitation,
Yes.
late 60s, early 70s.
They saw it all.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly like there'll never be anything really
No.
like that again. I mean, the cycles of her career are so fascinating. And I could have and should have picked some stuff that kind of jumped around in her career a little bit more because like I said, that the unknown especially is incredible and like that silent stuff is fascinating.
Is that the one with Lon Chaney where she
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
yeah, she said that
Which is where she basically said she learned about acting.
yeah, it was from Lon Chaney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then the pre-code stuff, I love a lot of that. Some of those I've watched just recently for the first time, like the 19. She's in two different movies called Possessed, as you know, I'm sure. The 1931 Possessed, and then the 47 Possessed. Different plots, different stories.
Okay.
But the 31 Possessed, I just watched for the first time and really loved it. And same goes for Dance Fools Dance and there's a couple of those other. There's a lot of like dance,
Yeah.
dance related stuff because she was a dancer first initially, and she dances in a lot of that pre-code stuff and the silent stuff. I love Sadie McKee, which I think just got a Blu-ray.
I
Um,
think you're right. I remember hearing that.
a lot of those pre-code Joan movies are coming out on Blu-ray from Warner Archive. Just in the last couple of years. They put out actually not just the pre-code stuff, a lot of her stuff. There's, throughout the 30s, 40s, 50s. The women, of course. I mean, I don't think of that so much as like a Joan Crawford movie
Yeah,
because,
it's such an ensemble piece. Yeah.
but she's incredible in it.
Yeah.
And I love that she wanted to play that role. And I think that kind of speaks to the movies we're talking about today, but really, especially that period, the choices she was making, the characters that she wanted to play, and that she was kind of unafraid of playing, like
She was fearless. Yeah.
that. I mean, that's one of the things that draws me to her. I think A Woman's Face is a movie I really love, which is again that's the movie that Scott Eyman uses as the title of his book. I didn't pick that one I might have picked that one if it was more available, but it's not super easy to see or to rewatch. I mean, I just saw it pretty recently for the first time, and that was only because it was on HBO Max, for a stretch, and maybe because it was, I don't know, maybe it had been on TCM. HBO Max has like a TCM thing going.
Yeah.
So
It's
they,
like TCM, but it's not. Yeah.
yeah, or they have like a hub where some stuff
Yes.
that plays on TCM gets archived for like a couple of months.
No,
Anyway, I saw it on there, and that's incredible. One of her best performances for sure, and hardish to see, I think, but worth tracking down. Mildred Pierce, of course, as you talked about, still probably. I don't know if I had to rank them, probably my favorite, but definitely, top couple, top few.
yeah.
I like the other Possessed, Damn Don't Cry, which you mentioned. I love Flamingo Road, another one that Michael
I
Curtiz
remember that one.
directed.
Yeah.
I really like that. And that I just recently saw for the first time too. That one had kind of escaped me. And I like, I mean, I've been, in what I've been saying, I've been kind of focusing on the 30s and 40s. And we're going to talk about a couple of her early 50s movies, but I like a lot of that 50s stuff, a
Yeah.
lot. And I think she does some really interesting stuff in that period. Two of the movies we're talking about today, Sudden Fear and Johnny Guitar, of course, but also Harriet. Well, I can't remember if Harriet Craig was what year that was. That might have been late 40s or 1950. But then like Female on the Beach, Queen Bee, Autumn Leaves. Autumn Leaves is terrific. That's another one I really love.
The Best of Everything, was that
The
Joan?
Best of
Yeah,
Everything. Yeah.
that was good. Hmm.
Yeah. I think that's 50-ish or 51,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. And of course, I mean, whatever happened to Baby Jane is incredible.
Hmm.
I just rewatched that, and I mean, I think I love Betty Davis too,
Yeah.
and you know, I see why she did and continues to get most of the attention for that performance, which was so obviously a major influence on Amy Madigan's performance in Weapons.
Yep.
But Joan Crawford is really good in that movie too. She's so understated and kind of yields so much to what Betty Davis is doing. It's really impressive. And I love that movie. And some of that later stuff is is definitely worth, not her best stuff, but worth watching, you know, Straight Jacket and Berserk and whatever else there is.
Yeah,
But
and I think sometimes, the reputation of somebody like Betty Davis and Joan Crawford kind of supersedes, but when you do see that and you see their dynamic together, just like we're going to talk about Johnny Guitar, and she famously did not get along with the other leading lady in that. Some of that, though, really helps the film. It helps the dynamics. You
yeah,
kind of wonder, like, the famous thing about Mary Tyler Moore not talking to Timothy Hutton at all, pretty much, during Ordinary People, and he had no idea. And then at the end, when it had wrapped, like, then she was nice because of the
yeah,
character.
yeah.
So I think sometimes we have this reputation of her, but sometimes I think it really did enhance the movies.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and then so starting chronologically, you mentioned Humoresque. I, a few years ago, I want to say it was during the pandemic, started to really become a John Garfield fan.
yeah.
And I think part of that was He Ran All Night. Was that
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a good
yeah,
one.
that one with Shelley Winters. I love that movie. I saw a couple other ones.
He ran all the way,
He
or he
Ran
ran all
All
the
the Way.
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah,
It's one of those titles where it's like, what is it?
yeah,
He Ran All the Way. Such a good movie. I recommend that for anyone who has not seen it. And also then I had Isaac Butler on after he wrote The Method, and we went through some various actors, and John Garfield was the one he wanted to kind of say is like, everyone talks about Clift and everyone and Brando,
yeah,
but like John Garfield was doing it. And, Robert Blake actually with Humoresque talked about not being able to cry. And it was Garfield who like closed down the set and told him about his own upbringing and his mom's, and got him really emotional and got
yeah.
it done. So yeah, I love John Garfield in this. This movie, it's also famous because is it The Power of Goodbye, that Madonna video, that some of the imagery from Humoresque
Oh,
was used.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
with
that.
her on the beach and some
Okay,
of
yeah,
it.
I don't, I somehow don't know that video. That's funny.
Okay. Yeah. So I knew of that. I think I had seen this years ago. Some of it was familiar, but not a lot. I don't love this one, but I admire, like, this was one of the women's melodrama of the weepy era, and Joan is great in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do love it, and I mean, I think it's another one where I probably came to it first because of John Garfield,
Yeah.
and you know, appreciated it on that level, and then rewatching it through this Joan lens. I've watched it a couple of times pretty recently. I mean, I think she's just the heart of it. And yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody who knows me or has read my books or knows what I'm interested in wouldn't be surprised to know that I love a movie that's like a, you know, operatic noir melodrama. I mean, and that's what this is. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah, the generations too. I can see that
yeah,
actually inspiring you with the family backstory, because your books are always so full of great characters, secondary characters. Where these people grew up is a big part of it.
yeah, and I mean, it's based on a Fannie Hurst story, but from what I've read, like Clifford Odets and the other screenwriter, Zachary Gold, just basically rewrote it. Or they reimagined it pretty completely. Maybe
Yeah, I
like the
think it'd been
first.
made before.
Yeah, Frank Borzage made a silent
There you
version
go.
of it in like 1920 or something, which was, I think, Francis Marion wrote the screenplay for that, and it was very faithful to the story. But this kind of veers off course from the story. And one of the ways it veers off course, I think, is that Joan Crawford's character Helen was not part of the original, and I think when they wrote the script they invented that character, and she was in like three scenes, and then Joan Crawford really wanted to work with John Garfield because she admired him and heard
Yeah.
about him, and like I think this is one of the things that people who don't kind of think about her as like an actor's actor, like she was really
Yeah.
drawn to what he was doing and that
Hmm.
kind of more method approach. When she had just won Mildred Pierce, and so when she
Yeah.
said, "I want to do this," they kind of enhanced that character's role, and it's one of the interesting things because the movie feels for a while so much like his movie,
It
but
does. It kind of reminded me of Yankee Doodle Dandy with the same, like, the way
yeah,
it's set up, the backstory, and it's like, oh, this is Garfield's picture. Yeah.
but then she kind of comes in and takes
Yes.
it. She comes in and takes it over,
Oh,
in her
yeah.
way. And it's just I mean, it's an incredible performance. I think there's so much pain and heartbreak in that performance. And again, just the like the characters that she's drawn to, these broken, complicated, messy women, and this character, there's just so much depth. Um, in her performance and in the character. Um, it's a really it's one of my probably one of my two or three favorite performances of hers. And her face is, I mean, she's got the
Yeah.
greatest, if not the greatest face in movie history, I think, for like for movies and for a movie screen. It's up there. I mean, I can't think of anybody whose face kind of commands the screen in the ways that hers does, other than maybe like Falconetti in The Passion of Joan of Arc. I mean, and there's so many close-ups on her in this movie, and it's just so much of her face doing work. And the way her face is, I mean, she was really obsessed with
The
how her
lighting.
face was lit, and who was in control of that, and she liked this working with the same people. So yeah, I mean, just a really really lovely performance, I think.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the trio you selected, and I think a lot of Joan's movies, is like these are her roles in particular, are kind of the stereotypical male roles,
Yeah,
essentially, because in this, like Garfield is the penniless violin player who's talented, so it'd be like the showgirl, essentially, and she's the complicated like if you want to invert Star is Born, basically
yeah,
that's kind of what we're watching. And we see that again in Sudden Fear when she's a playwright, and then Johnny Guitar, of course, she is the gunslinger. So these are kind of three roles where she was playing with gender and
yeah,
identity. And we also think of that with Joan too, her backstory, and that was her own private business, but there are a lot of stories about maybe she was fluid or bisexual or whatever the case. There's a lot of backstory there, and I think she infused all of those characters with some of that, and that's what makes it special. Is you feel like you're watching a three-dimensional person, and you were talking about her face. I think you see that too. Like she is the character, and she's thinking in character.
yeah. And so I mean, I'm reading this other book now, kind of dipping in and out of it, called Joan Crawford in Film Noir: The
Ooh.
Actress's Auteur.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
saw that at the store.
David Mule, I think that's how you say his name. And I mean, his argument is basically like from, I can't remember what movie he starts with. I think he starts with a woman's face in 41. and
Okay.
goes through um, Autumn Leaves basically, and then a little bit of some of her television stuff in the late
Yeah.
50s. But basically, it's saying she was as much of an auteur through her choices, the kinds of characters she played, the kind of projects she chose. I mean, she was a great reader, I think, and a great, she made great choices when it came to adapting things and
Yeah.
knowing, like, I mean, from Mildred Pierce to Sudden Fear. Johnny Guitar is also based on a novel, though that's a little different, I think, because I think she signed on to do that before the novel was even
Okay.
written. Um, but yeah, that's a big part of what's so fascinating about this period in particular. But also, yeah, that her face and I think you see a lot in Humoresque, like what she brings from silent movies. Um,
Yeah, that's a really good point, Bill. Uh-huh.
just like because so much of the movie is watching her
Yeah.
face. It's like she's watching him play violin,
Yeah.
and you're just watching her eyes and watching her kind of in the shadows. And she's able to do that, I think, in a way that maybe some other actresses from that period who didn't have that background couldn't pull off as compellingly.
Hmm. I agree with you. I think, also what's kind of cool is listening to you talk about like where she pulled from the silent movies. Then you see somebody like John Garfield, who Isaac Butler was purporting was kind of the father of
Yeah.
method before it was method or whatever, in as we know it, at least in this country. Or somebody who inspired these other actors. And so it's like different schools of acting coming together. And I think you're right too. She was a reader, because growing up, she was very self-conscious about that. She, fell behind in school. She was like, 3 years older than her classmates. They had to pull her back because her academic upbringing, she was a little, short-sighted and a little bit like, they didn't really work with her in certain areas. So she needed to catch up. And so she was very self-conscious about
Yeah.
her academic background. And I think, that's something cool that like Betty Davis did and Joan Crawford, and we see some actresses still doing today, is getting the projects done that they believe in. Yeah.
Yeah, and you saying that made me think. I mean, this movie is so much about class too.
Yeah.
Um, and she had that in her through no
Oh
matter,
my
and she was
gosh.
successful for a long time, but she never ever escaped the feeling that, like, what, because she came from nothing
I
essentially,
know.
and
It's the most
battled.
devastating background. Jesus.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and so she, even though she was successful, by the late 20s and certainly by the early 30s, she was massively successful. Like, she never got out from feeling like it could be pulled away from her at any second. And she was seeing it happen to people of her generation, certainly, like, who didn't have, the skill set that she had, and who didn't have great voices and didn't
Yeah.
couldn't translate to
Yeah.
the talkie era. So I mean that,
She lost her accent on purpose
yeah,
because it was more Southwestern. Probably there was a twang
yeah.
involved. And so she like consciously would read books out loud. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you read about her at all, I mean, one of the things the main thing you'll come away with more than anything else is, like, just incredible work ethic, incredible
Yes. Hmm.
discipline, like from the beginning, like,
Yep.
just never strayed from that throughout her career. So yeah, the class stuff I mean, that's one of the things that I really love about this movie too, is, seeing her play this character who is, I mean, she's got probably more in common with that John Garfield character than she does with the Helen character,
I agree. Yeah.
ultimately. So, even
Yeah.
though she kind of becomes something like that Helen character in her life.
Yeah. Or some of her husbands or
Yeah.
lovers up to that point were probably a little bit more like that. But yeah, that's a really good point too. I think it's leaving HBO Max as we're recording this. So
Yeah, it's until the
uh,
end of the month. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's got a
so
nice
finally
Blu-ray
get out.
from Warner Archive put it out on Blu-ray not too long ago. So it's pretty easy to see. And it's also, I mean, we're mostly talking about Joan Crawford today, obviously, but it's worth seeing for a variety of other reasons too, and including like the
Yeah.
incredible editing and like the trick camera stuff where they're making it look like John Garfield is playing violin,
Yes.
even though he could not play violin, and it's like two people,
Yeah.
one fingering whatever is it called, the bow in violin? I don't know,
Yes. I played the viola
whatever.
growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, so and Jean Negulesco, I don't know, that's
Yeah.
one of those names I don't say out loud very often. Really, really beautiful direction. And one of the things I liked in the essay I was just reading about it that I didn't know before is that I don't know if you caught this. There's a scene when I think you're in her. I can't remember where you are, in her apartment or her house or in his place, but there's a sketch of her on the wall. And
Uh-huh.
that sketch was early on in filming. She had been upset because she felt like John Negulesco, the director, wasn't giving her enough direction on who the character was.
Okay.
And his wife spoke to him about it, and he's like, well, I'm not good at talking about stuff like this. So he went to her, he made this sketch, because his background was, I think, drawing and
Art. Yeah.
illustration, art, and he made this sketch of the character, and he said, this is the character. This is what I want you to play. I'm not, I'm not a man of many words, but this
Yeah.
is what I want you. And it just made total sense to her, and she
Okay.
was so thankful for it. And so you can see that sketch in the movie at
I
some
love
point.
that. Yeah. The one thing I do think is a little bit of a drawback, I love him in other movies, Oscar Levant, but I will say he kind of tends to mug a little bit. And
Oh man, I
so
love it. I love him in this. I love him.
oh, okay. I love him in other stuff like in
Yeah, yeah.
American Paris, and he also did one. There was a story about George Gershwin, I remember, and that was good. But this one, he kind of, I think tonally, it just sort of feels like he's from a different movie, or he's like riffing from the old
Yeah,
M.
well, I like that. I like
Yeah,
messing with tones. But
that's
yeah,
true.
I think he gets a lot of the best lines in the movie too. Um, but there are some other really good performances in the movie too. The mom,
Oh my
his
gosh, she
mom,
was
uh,
wonderful.
John
Yeah.
Garfield's mom. I'm blanking on her name, Ruth Nelson or something like that. But yeah, it's worth seeing, and definitely if people haven't seen it, um, for sure one of Joan Crawford's best perform. I mean, widely considered, I think one of her best performances.
Yeah. Sudden Fear is a new favorite. I would have to say that's the next movie. Is that
Yeah,
1952, I think?
52, I think. Yeah,
Yeah. And I would say like Mildred Pierce, but now I think my second favorite might be this one. I love a good noir story. I think this had a nice twist. The 50s, the 40s were the women's weepy era, and then the 50s they were taking it even in a darker territory. And I like that you can see how this would have influenced other films like,
yeah,
Double Jeopardy, all kinds of things. Basically, she is a playwright. And, oh, and I also love that we have Jack Palance, who's just such a great presence. And, he wants to be in her play, and she doesn't think he's the right guy for the romantic leading man. And she's like, I sat in different sections in the theater and I watched him. He's just not the guy. Then she runs into him on a train and they get to talking and they bury the hatchet, and he, seems to be romantically interested, and they get married, and then spoiler alert, stuff happens. And is he sincere or not? And there's a big noir twist. I mean, you have Gloria Graham, you guys. Basically, that is the spoiler alert. If Gloria
Yeah.
Graham is in your movie, she's the other woman, and like shit is going to go down. And so I found this one so great. I'm sure I probably saw it, but I'm treating it
Yeah.
like a first watch because it had no memory. Love it. Yeah. So thank you for
Yeah.
choosing this one.
Oh yeah, of course. It's one of my favorites. And I mean, it's a movie I rewatch a lot. I find myself rewatching it like once a year, it feels like lately, at least. And yeah, I mean, and an example of, I think it's been a second now since I read the bio, but I think like this was one where she really took the reins and was like, read the book and wanted to get this made and wanted to play this part, and was very kind of in command of getting this movie made. Um, and it's based on a novel, a 1948 novel by the writer Edna Sherry,
Okay.
which I just read for the first time actually. So I'd seen this movie a bunch of times, and last year finally, after I rewatched it, I happened to be like the day after, happened to be at a used bookstore and found a copy of the book, and I just kind of let it sit around for a while, but I figured since we were doing this, I was like, well, I got to read the book eventually. I like the movie so much. So I just read the book, like last week into this week, and it's great.
Good.
And it's very, I mean, it actually, if anything, it might have, I love the movie, but it might have kind of
It was maybe a little better.
damaged the movie a little bit for me
Okay,
just because
gotcha.
there's some stuff that's different, especially the ending is
I was
just
going to ask you I was like, did it go in a more or a darker, more crowd pleasing way? Because the ending is a little
yeah.
convenient, but you're
It
willing to
goes in a
go with it.
much darker way. I don't know.
I was
I
hoping,
can't say
yeah.
crowd. I can't say crowd pleasing. I understand why they didn't do what's in the book. I
I
don't want to
mean, crowd
spoil it.
pleasing for noir people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, I mean, it's the crowd pleasingest for noir people. It is.
Okay, okay, good.
It's a really kind of dark, unexpected ending, and it's like where the movie ends. That's like the book is about 216 pages, and I mean, what happens at the very end of the movie does not happen in the book.
Okay, cool.
But that whole sequence of her like being in Irene's apartment,
Yeah.
like that's like three-quarters of the way through the book, and there's a ton of stuff that happens after that that's not in
Ooh.
the movie, and that's the end of the movie. That character is much it's Irma in the book, it's Irene in the movie. It's a much different setup for that character. Like
Wow. I
she's not
I want us to adapt it. Like call Todd Haynes, get him back. Let's
well,
do it.
actually, now that you say that, it would be cool to do it. I was thinking either like Mildred Pierce or like that Ripley limited series that came out. It
Yeah.
would be cool to do it over like a 5 or 6 episode thing because it spans time differently than the movie does. And the book is all set in New York. There's no San Francisco. The Irma character who is Irene in the movie does not come from Lester's past life. She's somebody that Myra rescues while she's out swimming and then kind of
Okay.
brings into the fold. She's like this working class Long Island girl.
Okay,
And kind of
now I
like
really am excited.
so there's
Yeah.
all this interesting stuff with class, and she brings her in as kind of like a study because she wants to write about her, and but she kind of brings her in, and then that's how her and Lester get together. Um, so yeah, I don't want to spoil. That's the beginning, but the end of the book goes in a very different different direction and kind of wild and very dark. I see why they did what they did in the movie, but now I'm kind of like, man, I want to see this version of it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
We're giving Hollywood an idea. Pick it up. Maybe
yeah.
hire Bill to adapt it. Come on. We
Hey,
can do that.
I'm here. I'm ready.
Yes.
Um,
Absolutely.
and
No,
I
this
was,
one is so good. It's interesting you said that San Francisco, wasn't the setting, because that's one of the things I loved about,
Oh, that's a good.
yeah,
I
especially
mean,
when
at
she's
least
going
like
up and down the hills and,
yeah,
being
atmospherically,
chased.
it's a great choice. I mean,
Yes.
in the book, it makes sense that she's a playwright from New York who
Oh
lives
yeah, of
in New York,
course.
and and it doesn't like, and you don't really question it in the movie
Yeah.
until you read the book. Then you're like, oh wait, why did they think this was whatever?
Yeah.
When we did a last year in Dallas at the Southwest Review Festival Frontera. Me and Megan Abbott did a screening of Blood Simple by the Coen brothers. And when I was doing like a Q&A with Megan about it. And when I asked her after, like, what would be a perfect movie to do as a double feature with Blood Simple, she chose Sudden Fear. And I think
Ooh.
you can
Yeah.
feel that there's a similarity. Obviously, the places are
I
different, but there's
love
a
that idea.
similarity
Yeah.
between the movies, tonally for sure, and stylistically even. And attention to detail certainly. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if like Frances McDormand idolized Joan Crawford. They have something of a
They really
similar
do.
quality.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you talked about in Humoresque how it starts out as John Garfield's picture, and that's
Yeah,
basically what happens in Fargo
yeah,
is, she doesn't show up for like a good half hour and then
yeah,
takes it
yeah,
over. Yeah, so very Joan Crawford. I love that.
yeah,
Sudden
and
Fear is so good, and yeah, and also we had mentioned other noir titles from this era. We talked about The Damned Don't Cry. Was it Flamingo Road? Like some of the
yeah.
other ones that kind of fit the bill. Is there anything we're forgetting besides Mildred Pierce, that this era that you'd recommend?
I mean, uh, in that book I mentioned, he kind of starts off that period with a woman's face,
Woman's
which is,
Face.
I mean, in a lot of these movies, like there are the ones that are more explicitly film noirs, and then
Yeah,
there are the ones that are kind of like
pulling elements.
noir
Yeah.
melodramas, or they kind of edge up against. They're more like aesthetically, stylistically, like
Okay.
humoresque, like aesthetically, stylistically noirs, but they're not necessarily
Yeah.
like, they're not about the things that noirs are often about. I like that 47 Possessed with her and Van Heflin. That one's really,
Okay.
really good. I thought about choosing that one. The Damn Don't Cry, which you mentioned. Harriet Craig's really good. Um, Female on the Beach is really interesting. Some people write that one off, and that's kind of from a period where I think people kind of view it as like she's going downhill a little bit, and like, or at least like the options on the table for her are fewer and far betweener. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Queen Bee, Autumn Leaves is great. Autumn Leaves is also directed by David Miller, who directed Sudden Fear. I think that's 56.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it was a little bit later, but yeah, that would be good too.
oh no, Robert Aldrich directed Autumn Leaves.
Okay.
Sorry.
But
David
they
Miller
kind of go
directed,
together. Yeah.
yeah, he directed something else from that period. I know he directed two movies with her in that period, and I'm blanking on what the other one is. It must have been, oh, The Story of Esther Costello, which is pretty good.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, it's a really rich era for her, I think. And again, like, she's making fascinating choices. And one of the things, I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit, I guess, but there's conflict with a lot of her co-stars in these movies. And I think some of some of those feuds are kind of, exaggerated but like I don't know that she didn't get along with Jack Palance. She
Mm-mm.
didn't get along with Gloria Graham. But I
No,
mean,
I
and I
can't
think
imagine they would have probably they would have butted
no,
heads.
and I don't think she got along. I mean, as much as she admired Garfield, I don't know that she got along with him that well, but she has incredible she has incredible chemistry with a lot of people throughout her
It
career.
does.
With
Yeah.
Gable for sure. But her chemistry with Garfield and Humoresque is great. I mean, and with Palance and Sudden Fear, it's really good. So she's capable of, and I mean, and often I think that
It's bold
conflict,
acting. Yeah.
yeah, well, and that conflict leads to kind of
Yeah, a little bit of heat.
a
Yeah.
charged atmosphere. It does in Sudden Fear for sure, and it definitely does in Johnny Guitar, where you can feel that the tension watching that movie with her and Mercedes McCambridge and with Sterling Hayden even.
Yeah.
So I think that adds something in most cases. I don't think I've not seen a movie where, I mean, certainly with Betty Davis and whatever happened to Baby Jane, like I've not seen a movie where that with her where that detracts or where that, lessens the chemistry somehow.
Yeah. There was another one that popped into my head. It's more melodramatic. It's not, but it was Daisy Kenyon.
Oh yeah, I've not
Yeah.
seen Daisy Kenyon, which is why I didn't mention it, I
Oh,
guess.
okay. That was
I know
Auto
it's in there.
Preminger. I saw it forever ago. I remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, I found the DVD.
that's been on my one of the movies of hers that I've been wanting to see that I haven't seen, and
Yeah. I
I
think
need
I
to.
remember really like it was like Preminger, I think Henry Fonda, if I remember right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Henry Fonda and Dana Andrews.
yeah, I need
So
to see that one.
so I will say if you like kind of the post humoresque around to Sudden Fear or to Johnny Guitar era, that was a good one too. The Best of Everything we mentioned, which is
Yeah,
nothing to do with noir, but another great complicated woman. But this leads us to Johnny Guitar, which is a cult favorite. They really ate it up in France. The reviews here, contemporaneous reviews, were pretty amusing. I do agree that, the color, but the color is supposed to be garish. It's kind of like a Western nightmare or a Western dream.
yeah,
It has these melodramatic things. It's kind of an allegory about the Red Scare because it's Nicholas Ray, speaking of Glory Graham, we got Nicholas Ray. She was involved with Ray during the making of this, and that brought a little bit of friction. Okay, a lot of friction with Mercedes McCambridge, because she thought that Ray was paying her too much attention and the other one thought not enough, that kind of thing.
yeah,
Also alcohol was going on with Mercedes at the time, but Johnny Guitar, I did not like the first time I saw it. It was too stylized, too weird. It took like a good second viewing or something for me. I was determined to like, why do people enjoy this one? Second viewing, it plays a little better. I think the first viewing, it seems so much as like having these actors as iconography, and you kind of have to teach yourself how to watch it a little bit. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Then I liked it. Yes.
yeah. I can see that. I mean, I think I just kind of liked it immediately, just because like I mentioned earlier, when I first saw it, I think it was in the midst of like, going through all of Nicholas Ray's films and really,
Yeah.
being fascinated by him. And so rewatching it through the Crawford lens is a little bit of a different experience. It's not a movie she really ever had anything good to say about,
I know. Yeah, she
which
did.
is
I
strange
think
to
it just
me.
seemed strange. Yeah.
I mean, I can see why. I mean, it has I don't really get why people think of it as campy. I don't think it's campy at all. I mean, I guess the colors, but I love the colors, and I think it adds to the kind of heightened kind of
Yeah.
atmosphere. Um, but yeah, she didn't like it. I don't know how much of that was like,
Experience
her
or
experience on the set, because she, yeah, again, kind of butted
yeah.
heads with both Ray, who was mad, I think also that he was getting paid so much less than her.
Yes.
Which is that's an unusual story for the time, I think.
Yeah.
Joan Crawford made $200,000 for Johnny Guitar, and Nicholas Ray made 75,000.
Ouch.
And then Mercedes McCambridge, who like I think this was like her fourth movie, and she wanted the same treatment as Joan Crawford.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And and I don't know, there's such bile between them that really shows up on the screen. But I love it. And I think her famous line about this movie is like, I want to play the man.
That's what
Um,
she does. It's very
you
like
know,
Ripley and Alien. You could kind of
yeah,
see, even though they didn't change any of the dialogue, you can sort of see like Sigourney watching for the swagger. Yeah.
yeah. And I was just listening. You ever listen to that podcast, Sass Mouth Dames?
No, I haven't.
I'd forgotten about it. I used to listen to it a while back, and they do a lot of, it's like, classic Hollywood stuff. But I was listening to their episode on Johnny Guitar, and I guess that's where I heard, like, in the original version, well, the novel, again, she knew the novelist. I'm blanking on the novelist's name, but she knew him and signed on to do it just based on like his premise, but he hadn't written the novel yet. So he wrote
Oh,
the
okay.
novel. He wrote the novel after, and the novel is dedicated to her, but
Wow.
he wasn't super satisfied with the novel, so they wound up rewriting it pretty significantly. Redoing the story.
Roy Chancellor.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. They wound up, redoing the story pretty significantly in the script. But even in that, like the first version of the script, she was really angry that, like, at the end of the movie, Vienna's just kind of there watching.
Yeah.
And like it's Sterling Hayden's character who's like in the shootout. It's like, none of the main, and she was like, no, I want this to be Vienna. Like, I don't want Vienna to be on the sidelines. So she was really um instrumental, obviously, in making what's, one of the things that's most interesting about this movie a reality, like her not being sidelined, as she would be in so many other.
Mhm.
And I think she, like, there were lines in the original script that were Johnny Guitar's lines where she was like, "No, Vienna needs to say that. That's not for him. This is for Vienna." So, yeah, I love that about this movie. I love her character. She's such a
Yeah.
fascinating character. And again, as in so many movies with her, she's just compelling to watch. Not, as I was talking about earlier, her face, of course, but also in this movie, especially like what she's wearing. I mean, and that's true of
Yes.
so many. She was obsessed with, being outfitted properly and
Yep.
and wearing compelling clothes. And in this movie, I mean, she is just, I mean, there's so many, and I'm not like a fashion guy, obviously, but there's so many iconic outfits in
Mhm.
this movie that she wears.
Yeah, I mean, some of the older films that she did, she was famous for all the dresses, being dressed to the nines. And I remember reading something about the budget was like 5 times as much for
Yeah,
wardrobe as it was for other parts of the budget. And yeah, you can see that. She wears this really, I'd say, kind of a garish yellow green
yeah,
top, and with the also the tie is very severe. But I do love that she is kind of the dude. I read a contemporaneous review that was like comparing it to Shane and
yeah,
saying she's basically like Shane, like there's nothing about her that's uniquely female. Like she has no more femininity than Shane did or the characters in that one did. But I was also thinking about, especially because of the Red Scare aspect, I wrote like this big paper on McCarthyism in the Westerns when I
yeah,
was in college. And I was thinking about High Noon and how Gary
yeah,
Cooper is torn between these two women. And you basically have that same sort of a dynamic playing out with Joan and these two men from her past and
yeah,
how they come together, which I really love that. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's great. And I mean, I haven't read the book, but I mean, there is apparently in the book like a lot of kind of background on Vienna. But I mean, I think she's so good at getting that stuff, and all of these examples from today and a bunch of other movies too, like just so good at getting that backstory through in her performance, and in the way she, just even the look, like, tells you so much about the character. And there's so many lines in this movie, like her saying that she likes to hear the wheel spin, like, just
I know. It's such a
such
good
a
detail.
good, yeah,
Yeah.
such a good detail. And also just like like you know that character through that line.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and I think another thing that might surprise some viewers today would be that it is an independent film.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of times people just assume, oh, indie movies started in the, 80s or with John Cassavetes only. No, it's been since film began essentially. And so it is kind of cool
Yeah.
when you go back and you see like, no, somebody with Joan's stature helping to get this made. Nicholas Ray hadn't really, I mean, he'd done some things, but he became even bigger, of course, like Rebel Without a Cause and stuff. But, yeah, I think this is really important for a lot of reasons, and it will surprise people who maybe you don't love Westerns, but you like the strong female characters. I think this is a good one to watch. I've met a lot of women over the years who say like, oh, I don't like Westerns, they're all guys or whatever. Watch Johnny Guitar and then talk to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Or
And
Fury with Barbara Stanwyck. Yeah.
yeah,
Fury.
absolutely. Like, watch it for Joan, but also like, and
Yeah. Oh
Mercedes
my God,
McCambridge,
she's unbelievable.
one of the great
Bill.
villain performances in movie
Yes.
history. I mean, you really believe like, and maybe she was,
Like hates her down to a cellular
oh
level.
man,
Yeah.
she is like just full of bile in this movie. It is it
Yes.
is it is a daring kind of ugly performance in its way, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I love it, and I don't think, I mean, I got like you mentioned earlier, I've got that Olive Blu-ray that came out probably 14 years ago or 13 years ago or something. It's been a while, and I don't
Yeah.
think it's in print anymore, and I don't think this movie is super easy to see. I mean, you might be able to like rent it on demand, but it's not streaming anywhere. There's no in-print Blu-ray, which is
Mm.
crazy. I mean, this feels like a movie that should be getting some kind of deluxe treatment. I don't know if there's rights issues or what, but I hope it
Yeah.
gets a new
Boutique
nice kind of,
labels, get on it. Yeah. Or
yeah, that'd
Criterion.
be,
You gotta,
yeah, I mean, it seems like it'd be perfect for Criterion,
oh my
I don't
gosh.
know.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
all right. The Olive edition has an intro by Scorsese, and
Hmm.
um that, I mean, it just, there's a lot of great writing on this film, and it just,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope it gets a new release at some point down the road soon.
Yeah. Well, Bill, I want to thank you so much for doing this. This is such a pleasure
Oh
to
man,
talk
of
Joan
course.
with you. I learned a lot. Now I want to check out more of these movies, so I can't wait. You're gonna have to come back for another topic next time you think of something when you come up with a topic crush that you're obsessing about. So,
Yeah,
really
anytime. It's always
appreciate
great talking to you, Jen.
I also want to thank everyone for listening, especially my patrons who support the show and help fund my research, equipment, film rentals, RSS fees, and more for as little as $1 per month at the Film Intuition Patreon, which is the home base for the show. Other ways you can support the podcast are by sharing, reviewing, and subscribing to Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts, and also checking out the cool merch store hosted and created by our talented logo designer, Kate Gabrielle. You can find the merchandise store, including shirts, tote bags, stickers, and more by visiting filmintuition.com and clicking on the shop link. The show's theme music is solo acoustic guitar by Jason Shaw and is available in the free music archive. Well, until next time, please take care and happy movie watching. This is Jen Johans at filmintuition.com and Film Intuition on social media and Letterboxd. And this is Watch with Jen.